Hare Krishna, Namaste, Chapter 18, which is entitled as Sannyāsa Yoga. śrī-bhagavān uvāca kāmyānāṁ karmaṇāṁ nyāsaṁ sannyāsaṁ kavayo viduḥ sarva-karma-phala-tyāgaṁ prāhus vicakṣaṇāḥ. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, the giving up of activities that are based on material desire is what great learned men call the renounced order of life, sannyāsa. And giving up the results of all activities is what the wise call renunciation, tyāga. kāmyānāṁ karmaṇāṁ nyāsaṁ sannyāsaṁ kavayo viduḥ. This is the first part of this sloka which we covered in the previous session, which says that there are type of people who has an opinion that sannyāsaṁ, which also known as tyāga, means giving up the kāmya karmas, the desire-driven activities that are mentioned in the Vedas. Now what we need to learn today is the second half of the sloka, sarva-karma-phala-tyāgaṁ prāhus vicakṣaṇāḥ. Some scholars says that renunciation of the fruits of actions, which is what known as tyāga, which is also known as sannyāsaṁ. What the second type of scholar says is that sarva-karma-phala-tyāgaṁ. Phalam means rewards, fruits. That is what needs to be given up when you are doing any types of karma activity, sarva-karma. That means do all three karmas, nitya karma, naimitika karma and kamya karma, but give up the results that they provide us. Please note that over here tyāga is being used, whereas in the type 1 sannyasa is being used. From this we can understand Krishna's opinion is that both terms means the same. Now let's understand where the difference comes between type 1 and type 2. Type 1 scholars said that we should not be doing kamya karmas. Why? Because the results of the kamya karma entangles one into the material pool. Therefore, they cannot attain moksha. It is a blocker for mumukshus, those who are aspirant of getting liberated. When type 1 said this one, type 2 person says, well, what about nitya and naimitika karmas? They also gives result. It is said in the scriptures that by performing nitya naimitika karmas regularly, meticulously, very carefully, without failing, karmaṇāṁ pitraloka, by performing these karmas, one goes to pitraloka. This is mentioned in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, whereas in Mahanarayana Upanishad it is said dharmena papam apanudati. By following the dharma that's mentioned in the Vedas, which is yaga, yajna, dana, tapas, etc., one eradicates sin. Dharmena papam apanudati. So it is true, even by doing nitya karma, naimitika karma, one gets some result. Then the response by type 1 to type 2 is, we don't expect those results. We renounce those results that comes through nitya naimitika karma. Then immediately type 2 claims, why can't you do the same to kamya karma then? Renounce the result that kamya karma gives, but continue to do kamya karma. What's wrong in doing so? You're willing to give up the rewards that comes by doing nitya karma and naimitika karma. Then the same thing can be applied to kamya karma as well. You perform kamya karma, but renounce the result that comes out of kamya karma. In this way, you can do all the three karmas, nitya, naimitika and kamya karma. There are great kings in the history, in the Puranas, in the Itihasas. We see that they have done all the karmas very meticulously. Janaka is one ideal example? For that matter, Sri Ramachandra has also performed many of such karmas during his pastime in this world. So type 1 said sannyāsa means giving up kamya karma, whereas type 2 said tyāga, which also means sannyāsa, that is to give up all the fruits of any karmas. That's the only difference. In the nature, the terms sannyāsa and tyāga has been used. So how do we understand from this debate between type 1 and type 2? We need to know certain differences here. The first difference is that yes, nitya karma and naimitika karma also gives result if it is done regularly without fail. But the result that one attains is not a part of the process. Meaning, one does not read out saying that I am going to perform this particular karma for this result. But one does his duty not because it is going to give him that particular result. Whereas kamya karma, the action when it is performed, the fruits of that action is already spelled out. Meaning, I need a son. Therefore, by performing putra kameshti yagya, it gives me a son. I am doing this jyothishtoma yaga because I want to go to heaven. As you can see, when these actions are performed, the results are pronounced along with the action itself. Whereas when nitya and naimitika karma are performed, the fruits of action is not part of the process while being performed, though it gives certain result. Then one may ask a question, since it gives a result anyway, should we also give up nitya and naimitika karma? Like how we give up kamya karma? This is a question to the type 1 person, because type 1 said one should continue doing nitya karma and naimitika karma, but one should abandon kamya karma. Why? Because kamya karma gives certain rewards. The response is, well, even nitya karma and naimitika karma are supposed to give certain result. Well, those results are not part of the process, and the opponent responses doesn't matter, but still one gets a result. Therefore, should we give up the nitya karma and naimitika karma since it also gives some result? The response is no. If one gives up nitya karma and naimitika karma, one get a negative reaction for not doing it, and one's spiritual progress will be blocked. It is said, sandhyayīnaha asuchihi. If one does not perform sandhya vandana as it is prescribed, one is not qualified to perform any other ritual activities. Sarva-karmasu anarhaha. It is said in the Upanishad, aharahar sandhyam upasita yavat jivanam agnihotram juhati. Meaning, one should perform sandhya vandana daily. One should offer sacrifices daily for one's whole life. Yes, it is said that nitya karma, naimitika karma does yield some fruits to some degree, as also it is said in Apastamba Sutra, Vishvajita yajate, worshipping with the Vishvajit fire, one attains all wealth. But the only difference between nitya naimitika karma and kamya karma is focused towards the result, whereas nitya karma and naimitika karma focus towards the duty, one's commitment, not to the results. Therefore, one must do their daily sadhana practices that falls under nitya karma and naimitika karma. Not doing kamya karma will not be a problem for one's progress spiritually, but not doing nitya karma and naimitika karma becomes a big hindrance, obstacle in one's spiritual progress. By not doing kamya karma, one does not inherit any sins. But by not doing nitya karma, naimittika karma, one start accumulating lot of sins. When one has sins, then one will not be able to attain moksha. Moksha means free of sins. By doing nitya karma, naimittika karma, one progress towards moksha is guaranteed. Therefore, one should not fail to do nitya karma and naimittika karma, whereas kamya karma can be optional. If one does not do kamya karma, it will not affect one's bhakti, one's spiritual progress. But it will certainly affect if one fails to do nitya karma and naimittika karma. Therefore, the type 1 is fixed, saying that give up kamya karma totally, but do perform nitya karma and naimittika karma, which is what known as sannyāsa. Whereas type 2 said that, well, your idea of giving up kamya karma is because of the reward that kamya karma gives. In that case, I would propose that give up the result but do kamya karma like how you do nitya karma and naimittika karma, which is what called as tyāga, which is known as sannyāsa. This is type 2's opinion. We will see in the following slokas that Krishna uses tyāga and sannyāsa very interchangeably. In the future sloka, sloka 7, we will see Krishna says niyatasya tu sannyāsah karmano nopapadyate mohat tasya parityāgas tāmasah parikirtitah. The prescribed duty should never be renounced. If one gives up his prescribed duties because of illusion, such renunciation is said to be in the mode of ignorance. Therefore, Krishna is very clear that none of the karmas should be given up. In this sloka, Krishna uses the term sannyāsah, and in the 12th sloka of this chapter, anishtam ishtam mishram cha tribidam karmaṇāṁ phalam bhavati atyahinam pretya natu sannyasinam kvachit. Here we see tyāgi is being used, sannyasi is being used, trying to convey the same message. It's like if we recollect in 3rd chapter 37 sloka, Krishna said kāmayeshah krodayeshah rajoguna samudbhavah mahashano mahapapma vidhi enam iha vairinam. He mentioned kama and krodha, two things, desire and anger. These are two things which are born of contact with mode of rajoguna. That means rajoguna is a mother of kama and krodha. When Krishna ended this particular sloka, he said vairinam, enemy, greatest enemy. Instead of saying enemies in plural, because he mentioned kama and krodha, Krishna ends with singular, saying vairinam, enemy. Why? Because they are born of one mother called rajoguna. Therefore, both together as called as one enemy. This quotation is just to give us an understanding how Krishna is using tyāga and sannyāsa, two different terms which has same meaning. Now let's summarize what we have seen so far with type 1 and type 2. It is nice to visualize this in a tabular form where we have kamya karma in one column and nitya naimittika karma in the second column. A side note, it is also nice to take notes as we are hearing these things so we don't forget, and that is something that we can go back and refer when we forget. So let's go over this one. Performed with result in mind, that is kamya karma, whereas nitya naimittika karma are not performed keeping some result in mind. Next, if one does not do kamya karma, one does not get any sin. But if one does not do nitya naimitika karma, one certainly gets sin. By performing kamya karma, one get their desired result. By performing nitya karma, naimitika karma, one's ultimate benefit is only seeing the Lord being pleased. Otherwise, no other benefit is expected. By performing kamya karma, one's spiritual progress is blocked because one is desiring for some result by doing kamya karma. Whereas by performing nitya karma, naimitika karma, one rapidly progresses spiritually. Their bhakti is not blocked. Now let's see the type 1 and type 2 before we conclude. Type 1. Kāmyānāṁ karmaṇāṁ nyāsaṁ. One should not do kamya karmas, but one should surely continue doing nitya karma and naimitika karma. One should not do kamya karma because it is entangling. Since it gives material benefit, it becomes a block for one's spiritual progress, for one to attain moksha. Whereas nitya karma, naimitika karma helps one to progress spiritually. But one should do that without expectation of any side benefits, any results. Type 2 person says sarva-karma-phala-tyāgaṁ. One must do kamya karma and also one should continue doing nitya karma and naimitika karma. There shouldn't be any difference between these three karmas. If one can give up the results of nitya naimitika karma, they can also do the same way to kamya karma. Do it without expecting material benefit as you do for the other two karmas, nitya karma and naimitika karma. The question is, to the type 2 person, why we should do kamya karma? The response is, because it is mentioned in the Shastra. If one does not do what is said in the Shastra, then that itself a fault on our end. Therefore one should do it as a duty. Therefore kamya karma, nitya karma, naimitika karma needs to be performed because it has been given in the Shastra. That covers the two types of scholars. In the next third verse, we are going to see another two types of scholars who have a different opinion than what we saw now in the second chapter. kāmyānāṁ karmaṇāṁ nyāsaṁ sannyāsaṁ kavayo viduḥ sarva-karma-phala-tyāgaṁ prāhus vicakṣaṇāḥ. Namaste. Hare Krishna.